Hi, so what I'd like to talk to you about now is writing the business resume. Well, to start with, a business resume is a little bit different than resumes in other fields, just for this simple reason that the majority of larger corporations are going to see resumes from graduating classes from business schools. Okay, and the majority of resumes that they actually review are the campuses with which they have a relationship, where they do on-campus interviews, etc. So to mimic or closely model your resume off of the format used by these top business schools is going to make the resume format more familiar to employers. It'll be something they're more accustomed to seeing. They won't have to search for information, and therefore they associate your resume with others of similar class and quality. So I highly recommend that you follow this format. Now, if you want to do the research yourself, look to some of the top business schools, Harvard, Virginia, Duke, Emory, Georgia Tech, some of these business schools that have impeccable reputations with the employer community. And if you compare them across resumes, the format is almost identical. There's very little difference, some minor changes with font or text positioning, but that's about it. So generally, with that being said, your organization is going to be your objective, and lots of resumes that they don't have the objective statement at the top, and that's because the objective statement generally serves the same purpose as the cover letter. So if you're able to submit a cover letter along with your resume, the objective statement is far less relevant, so you may be able to leave that off, and that saves some room. So individuals coming out of business school, more often than not, are going to follow the education, then work experience, then relevant skills or other information formats. So in that order, okay? And the reason you start with education is because over the past few years, your education has largely been your job. Remember the signaling function of education, that it indicates that you paid for this experience to be able to prove yourself in an academic setting, measured by your grade point average and your other activities and the courses you've taken, etc. So generally you're going to start with education, showing the preparation you've undertaken over the past few years for the type of job you're applying for. The only time that really changes for a graduating business student is when you're applying to a field in which you already have tons of relevant skills or experience. Now, that comes about in two forms. One, if you're a business student that's a non-traditional student, you may have extensive experience in a given industry that you're returning to or going back into. Well, in that situation, you may want to start with your work experience. So that's one option for that individual. Another time would be specifically when you're going into a job that requires extensive skills in this area. Now, I can think of two scenarios where this is common. One, sales. If you have extensive sales experience and that's what you want to put forward, you may start again with work experience. Or two, technical skills. If you're going into a computer science, IT, MIS related field, it may be advantageous for you to begin with your relevant technical skills, because that above all else is going to qualify you for your job, the systems you're proficient on, the programming languages you know, etc. So anyway, so those are the general exceptions. So, but just generally, you're going to start with education, and I've posted along with these with this video an example, a sample resume, so you can look at that format and you can see the shading and format that it uses, the bold and the all caps versus the italics to separate things out, and the subtle indent and then the bulleted indents or the bullets below to indicate experiences that you want to bring out about your educational experience, a high GPA, clubs, study abroad, things of that nature that would be relevant that you want to bring out. So after education, you typically go to work experience, and generally, unless again you're a non-traditional student with tons of experience that you want to that you may have to sort through and eliminate, you're going to go in reverse chronological order, the most recent job experience first, then back away from there. And in any case, you're generally going to do that. It's just, like I say, with the non-traditional student that has a ton of experience, you may need to leave out certain jobs or minimize those jobs to a single line to allow room on the resume. But like I said, lots of times you'll leave that out, and it'll be obvious there from the gap in years. The format, as you see, generally the time frame is down the right hand, looking at the page, the right hand side of the page, so it's easy to follow and track the time period all the way down. And then the skills section or other information where you may put your interest or other relevant skills, language ability, certifications or training, that type of thing that's important but not quite as important as your primary education and relevant work experience. So that's the format, and that's pretty straightforward.